In the name of God, always creating, always redeeming, always liberating. Amen. When I first read today's gospel, my friends, I have to tell you that it really didn't give me comfort. It left me frustrated. In the story, Jesus takes the hand of a woman and she is immediately healed. And then all sorts of other people bring Jesus their friends and relatives, hordes of people, if Mark is to be believed, and they are all made well too. The lame walk, the deaf hear, and those who are oppressed by all sorts of forces are suddenly okay. Well, what about us? The church tells us that Jesus Christ's power is still real and present, but our friends with disabilities can't walk, our deaf friends still sign, and oppression is still very real. Is this gospel just not true? Or is the power of Jesus just operating differently among us? Or maybe the point of the story is not the miracles, but something else. What is the good news here for us? I think that this question's pretty important, especially now. The world has always suffered from what theologians sometimes call natural evil, that is, diseases and earthquakes and all the ways in which genetics and physics just end up making life harder for some people than they do for others. But this last year has been a real doozy, and all of us feel pretty weighed down right now. The natural evil of the COVID pandemic, combined with the social evils of racism and political dysfunction and people just making things up to hoard power, these are all things that in Jesus's time, people would have attributed to what they called demons. All of these make us feel possessed every bit as much as they did in Jesus's time. We live in stressful times, for sure. Even youths will faint and be weary, and the young will grow exhausted, as Isaiah the prophet said to us today. So where is the hope for us? Well, it's actually in this gospel story if we root around a little bit in it. So let's root around together in it. In our story today, Jesus goes from worshiping in the synagogue to a meal in somebody's home. He doesn't stay locked away, but goes out to be with others. And the first thing he does, the first healing that he does in Mark's gospel is of a woman. Now, it's annoying that we don't know this woman's name, but she is a woman. And given the context of Jesus' community, that's pretty amazing. It's a sign to us that Jesus is here for everybody. And then, after that, Jesus goes on to heal a lot of other people, and the demons are not happy about it. And this brings us to what I think is the most curious part of this tale. Mark tells us Jesus would not permit the demons to speak because they knew him. What is going on? Why won't Jesus let the demons speak? Well, the demons know his name. They know who he is. They know that the gig is up for them, that they've met their match. They know that God's love, as embodied in Jesus, is more powerful than they are, and that they may seem to have the upper hand right now, but their defeat is in the works. They know that for their defeat to be fully effected, Jesus can't get caught up in the praise that comes from performing miracles. He can't lose sight of the big picture of his call. To effect it, Jesus needs to show his disciples a lot more. He needs to show them what love looks like by breaking bread over and over and over again with people on the margins. He needs to touch people who are sick and women and outcasts and tax collectors. He needs to go to the center of the power structure, the temple, and overturn the tables there. He needs to ride a donkey in a procession that mocks the militarism of the world. And he needs to die at the hands of an empire that looks like it's all powerful and will last forever, but which Jesus knows is like all the other empires of this world and will fade. And only then can Jesus rise again, to show that love is more powerful than any demons, more powerful than death itself. And to show that that power of love is the power that was at creation, that brought everything into being, the power that worked through Moses to liberate the people of Israel, and again through Esther to liberate them in another time from another empire. And only then can this power be shared everywhere with anyone who says yes to love. No exceptions. Grace, 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 grace. The demons see the handwriting on the wall. Their day is ending. Jesus won't let them speak because he still has things to do. He binds their tongues so that he can stay on the beam and do what he needs to do for love's sake. So, back to the gospel. After the word gets around, Jesus is healing so many people, Jesus slips off to pray, to rebalance. He goes off to a deserted place to be with the Creator. He needs to clear his mind and recenter himself in that big picture calling. But Simon and his friends track him down. In fact, Mark says they hunted for him. They hunted for him. And when they get there, they very anxiously yell at him, "Everybody is searching for you." They want him to fix everything now. And we get that. So do we. And when things don't get fixed right now in the way that we think they need to be fixed, we get impatient and angry. It's human nature. We look for other quick fixes to take our pain away. But Jesus tells Simon, I have to keep on my path so that I can do the larger work of making all things new, of taking away the power of evil and the sting of death. He doesn't end up ending all particular expressions of suffering, but he continues on so that that suffering will not be the end, will not have the final word. And so that all the people of God can participate in the work of love that is always stronger than the power of evil and death. Jesus is bringing to life everything that Isaiah told us about God, the God who stretches out the heavens like a curtain, who spreads them out like a tent to live in, God who brings out their host and numbers them and calls them all by name, Andrew and Simon and James and John and Mary and Tabitha and Elizabeth and Priscilla, God who in Jesus does not stay in the synagogue but goes out into their homes, and not one is missing, not one. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable, and he gives power to the faint and strengthens the powerless. He hears Simon's mother-in-law, and he hears you. And the ancient promise is true for me and for you. Those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not be faint. We do not have the strength we need on our own, but we do have it through the grace of God in Jesus when we wait on the Lord. So, what does it look like to wait on the Lord? Well, first of all, it looks like Jesus taking time out to be with God. We might choose to go on a long walk, or write in our journal, or sit and listen. Maybe memorize one of those great prayers in the prayer book and just pray it over and again as we walk, as we journal, as we sit in quiet. When we do this, we can put things in perspective a little bit more. We can see that we're part of this unbelievable thing called creation, where God has stretched out the heavens like a curtain and spread them out like a tent for us to live in. Lift your eyes on high and see, as Isaiah invites us. Who created everything? Who created the snow outside of my window? Come and see the good things that God has done. We have to take time out in order to do that. Second, waiting on the Lord means waiting for and waiting on other people. Your friend in the wheelchair can't walk. Wait for the Lord by slowing down and walking at the pace of the wheelchair. Your friend who is deaf cannot hear. Learn to sign. Jesus is in that. And Jesus is in whomever waits on you in whatever difficulty or suffering you are in. Finally, waiting for the Lord means seeing beyond what is most annoying or feels most absolute about this particular season to understand it as one point in a long journey that extends forward into God's time, which is always longer than our time, and too holy and too mysterious for us to measure with rulers or stopwatches or chronometers. My friends, God is faithful and present. In this time and always, let us wait for the Lord. Amen.